Is it on?
No, okay, I'm done. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody on? It's on? Okay. All right. Tonight, the Gosho that we're going to be studying is Mini in Body, One in Mind. It's from WND 1, page 618. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading the Gosho, and I'll get into certain things. By the way, one of the interesting things from reading the lecture as well is the fact that it's believed possibly that this Gosho is actually the combination of two Goshos, two letters that got combined. Okay? So President Ikeda will explain all that in terms of the history and the background further. I'm going to start by reading the background on page 619 of Volume 1. And it reads, this letter, the Mini in Body, One in Mind, starts on page 618. It's Gosho number 71. Background's on 619. Background. This letter is generally thought to have been presented to the lay priest Takahashi, whose wife was an aunt of Daishonin, Nikko. Hokibo, better known as Daishonin, led the propagation of Nichiren Daishonin's teachings in the Fuji district of Suruga. Takahashi was a leading figure among the lay believers there, and his residence was used as a headquarters when the persecutions of lay believers occurred in Atsuhara village in the Fuji area. This letter is dated the 6th day of the 8th month, but no year is given. It is believed, however, to have been written between 1275, when the persecutions began in Atsuhara due to the increasing number of new believers there, and 1280, the year before the Second Mongol invasion when the Atsuhara persecution was resolved. This letter stresses the importance of unity in the face of the numerous evils arrayed against the Daishonin's followers, and speaks of the imminence of a second Mongol invasion that may ultimately serve to excise slander against the correct teaching. So this is really a Gosho about unity and being of the same mind as Nichiren. Do understand that the Mini in Body, One in Mind is the one mind, is the mind of the Buddha. Okay? It's not the mind of the social club or the mind of the political party or the mind of fashion concepts. It's specifically the mind of propagation toward the goal of Kosen Rufu. That's really what that mind is. That's the mind of Nichiren is for the attainment of Buddhahood by all people, right? Which is Kosen Rufu. Okay, so with that having been said, let me start on page 618. My children are coming in the door, so if there's a little bit of noise in the background, I apologize. I received, oh, by the way, Fahimi, how are you, dear? Good to know that you're with us. I got a good friend who's from Iran in California who just found out that she's been watching the videos. And, of course, my brother's in Brazil. Andre, how are you doing? Avery, how you doing? Everybody, Mr. Lin, everybody, Mr. Lee, how you doing? Okay, so let's get started. I have received the white quilted robe and the thick quilted cotton one, as well as 1,000 coins, through the good offices of Hokibo, Nikko Shonin. Hokibo and Sadobo and the believers in Atsuhara have proved the strength of their resolve. And Sadobo was Semibo, by the way. If the spirit of Mini in Body, but One in Mind, prevails among the people, they will achieve all their goals. Whereas if one in body, but different in mind, they can achieve nothing remarkable. The more than 3,000 volumes of Confucian and Taoist literature are filled with examples. King Chao of Yin led 700,000 soldiers into battle against King Wu of Chao and his 800 men. Yet King Chao's army lost because of disunity, while King Wu's men defeated him because of perfect unity. Even an individual at cross purposes with himself is certain to end in failure, which means, don't be confused or divided in your determination. You have to be solid with that and specific and focused on it. It says, yet 100 or even 1,000 people can definitely attain their goal if they are of one mind. Though numerous, the Japanese will find it difficult to accomplish anything because they are divided in spirit. In contrast, although Nichiren and his followers are few, because they are different in body, but united in mind, they will definitely accomplish their great mission of widely propagating the Lotus Sutra. Though evils may be numerous, they cannot prevail over a single great truth, just as many raging fires are quenched by a single shower of rain. This principle also holds true with Nichiren and his followers. You have served the Lotus Sutra with devotion for many years, and in addition, you demonstrated remarkable resolve during the recent incidents at Atsuhara. Many people have mentioned this, and Hokibo and Sarobo have also said so. I listened carefully and reported everything to the god of the sun and to the sun goddess. I should have replied to you earlier, but there was no one who could bring this letter to you. Achara Ben left here so quickly that I had no time to finish writing before his departure. All of you have been wondering whether the Mongols will really attack again, but I believe that invasion is now imminent. Though the fall of our country would be deplorable, if the invasion does not take place, the Japanese people will slander the Lotus Sutra more than ever, and all of them will fall into the hell of incessant suffering. The nation may be devastated by the superior strength of the Mongols, but the slander of the correct teaching will cease almost entirely. Defeat would be like moxicottery, which cures disease, or like acupuncture, yes, cupping, moxicottery, or like acupuncture, which relieves pain. Both are painful at the moment, but bring happiness later. Nichiren is the emissary of the Lotus Sutra. The Japanese are like King Mihirakura, who eliminated Buddhism throughout Jampadvipa. The Mongol Empire may be like King Himitala, a messenger from heaven sent to punish those hostile to the votary of the Lotus Sutra. If the Japanese repent in their present existence, they will be like King Ajatasattu, who became a follower of the Buddha, cured his white leprosy, and prolonged his life by 40 years. Though lacking the roots of faith, he reached the first stage of security and in his present life gained the realization that phenomena neither are born nor perish. Now, did the second Mongol invasion ever actually occur? No. Okay. So, but what did he just say here that did actually occur? Many hundreds of years later. I'll say it again real quick. It says, the nation may be devastated by the superior strength of the Mongols, but the slander of the correct teaching will cease almost entirely. Defeat would be like moxicottery, which cures disease, or like acupuncture, which relieves pain. Both are painful at the moment, but bring happiness later. And he's talking about by eliminating the slander of practicing incorrect teachings in the latter day, the people are creating misfortune for themselves. Okay, so he's basically saying if there was something that brought them difficulty that would help them resolve this confusion over what is the correct teaching, that invasion or that battle, that difficulty would actually be a benefit. All right? And so, does anybody know what I'm headed toward here yet? I mean, what happened in Japan? Not then, but much later, that created exactly what he's talking about. World War II, and the emergence of the Soka Gakkai after President Toda came out of prison, after he had stood alone with President Makaguchi to accomplish that. So keep that in mind. And now I'm going to go ahead and get into the lecture itself. All right. The lecture starts on page 201. It's number 12 in Hope-Filled Teachings of Nichiren Daishonin. I'm going to skip the Gosho section because we already just read the whole Gosho, which was very short. And I'll get right into the lecture. Before I start, though, I need to make sure that everybody that's watching does understand one thing, and that's the fact that this discussion around this table is really a complementary practice to our daily and individual practices. And everybody at this table is a member of the Soka Gakkai, I believe, certainly in spirit, if not officially. Everybody at this table has Gohonzon.
Yes.
Okay? But there may be people that are watching what we're talking about tonight that aren't members of SGI or have issues with SGI or don't yet have Gohonzon. So I'm going to go ahead and say this on the front end. And that's the fact that when we read this lecture, you're going to see President Ikeda refer to the SGI as the source of what he's really, emphasizing unity toward. And I would suggest to everybody that the true unity that actually counts is the unity of action and faith. Okay? So the true unity is unity of faith more than it is of unity of individuals in an organizational structure. Do you understand? Right. In other words, the one mind is the mind of Nichiren. So that doesn't disqualify anybody based on their association with the SGI. Do you understand? Right. This is really about those individuals that chant Daimoku with their whole life, that advance toward Buddhahood in their present form, that are fully and absolutely committed to the reality that their life, their advent, the purpose of it, was to achieve Kosen Rufu, to be a disciple of Nichiren, the eternal Buddha. All right? So, on page 202, I think I said that well enough to be understandable. Okay, so, the lecture. Songs can unite. They can bring people together. Soka Gakkai songs, songs for Kosen Rufu, unite our members in the cause of widely spreading the ideals and principles of Nichiren Buddhism. Throughout Japan and countries around the globe, SGI members are singing songs energetically as they forge ahead valiantly to create a new era. Songs provide the rhythm for victory. Songs express the solidarity of mentor and disciple. And I think we should write an Old Soup song. My mentor. Old Soup group song. I should qualify that. My mentor, second Soka Gakkai President Josei Toda, would frequently ask youth to get up and sing as he had us lead songs and dance to the music. At times, he would even stand up himself and lead a song by performing a solemn Japanese dance in rhythm with the melody. Often, while visiting our members in areas near and far, I would also sing along with everyone, lead them in songs, or perform a dance to encourage them. Firmly united with the members, I aligned my life with that of Mr. Toda, our mentor in the struggle for Kosen Rufu, and set into motion a powerful impetus for peace, culture, and harmony. Gray box at the top of page 202, two wheels of a cart, highlights, aligning our hearts with our mentor while uniting in our efforts for Kosen Rufu is the key to victory for our movement. Second, it is vital that we take a firm stand against any person or negative influence that seeks to destroy the oneness of mentor and disciple and the unity of many in body, one in mind. All right? And before then I go into the lecture itself, I want to go through the salient gray boxes that are here. On page 203, I'm going to read President Ikeda's input on unity. It says, Nichiren Daishonin states both oneself and others together will take joy in their possession of wisdom and compassion. That's from the record of the orally transmitted teachings. To possess both wisdom and compassion is the heart of our human revolution. If you have wisdom alone and lack compassion, it would be a cold, perverse wisdom. If you have compassion alone and lack wisdom, you cannot achieve your own happiness or give happiness to others. You are even likely to lead them in the wrong direction. As we advance together in the pursuit of our human revolution on the paths of unsurpassed joy and self-improvement, we deepen both our wisdom and compassion with the passing of time. This is our way of life in the SGI. Okay? And then going on to page 209. Second Soka Gakkai President Josei Toda on creating unity. No matter how much you may drum on the need for unity, it's quite hard to make people unite since each has a different mind. Suppose there is a bottle of sake, Toda said, pantomiming the act of setting down a large bottle full of wine in the center of his desk and smiling mischievously. When it comes to the matter of drinking this sake, you will instantly agree with each other and join in beautiful unity. That's unity centered on a bottle of liquor. Again, suppose there is a large, delicious-looking cake. You'll immediately and joyfully become unified in one mind to eat it.
Yeah.
But the sake or the cake will be quickly gone, and with it your unity. You'll return once again to your individual frames of mind. It's easy to form unity centered on something like liquor or a cake. The unity we need to fight the forthcoming campaign cannot be achieved with such ease, however. Not only are there so many members with so many different ideas about how to wage this campaign, but they differ widely in their understanding of its significance. But they differ widely in their understanding of its significance. How can you unite them in one mind? Just think about it. What kind of unity has enabled the Soka Gakkai to become what it is today? It is the unity of faith and nothing else. And that's what I said. Faith is really the key here, not membership in an organization. It's the faith and the desire to faithfully perceive the truth of your life through the teachings of the original teacher and to propagate them to others in a meaningful way so that they can emulate you and him. All right? Then another one on page 212, always begin with fresh resolve. On May 3rd, 1951, when Josei Toda was inaugurated second Soka Gakkai president, he made a dramatic declaration to achieve 750,000 member households in his lifetime. The flame of fighting spirit burned brightly in the hearts of mentor and disciple. A tremendous struggle thus began, to which both Josei Toda and Daisaku Ikeda devoted their entire beings day after day. Their passionate determination eventually spread to the hearts of all members, inspiring people across the entire Japanese archipelago. Finally, almost 7 years later, in December 1957, this unprecedented goal had been reached. 750,000 households comprising some 2 million members united under the banner of Soka. It was a truly splendid achievement. In this New Year's poem, President Toda highlighted the key to their success. That is, in his New Year's poem, President Toda highlighted the key to their success. That is, to start each year with fresh resolve. The pioneer members never complacently assumed that they had always had the following, the pioneering members never complacently assumed that they always had the following year or the year after that to achieve their goals. They took action with the strong determination that this year was decisive, that this year was all they had. Each day was an earnest struggle in which they fought with all their might. That was how the solid foundation of Kosen-Rufu was built. Now, I would like to add one other little fact to that. When President Toda established this goal, this personal goal that he had, that he wanted the organization to achieve, and that he was trying to lead everybody toward, does anybody know what he said about that goal of achieving 750,000 households? As the leader, as a person of tremendous faith and conviction, not doubting in the least that this crazy, wild thing that he's throwing out there, because they're not even approaching that at the time that he says it 7 years earlier. Don't forget the massive shakabuku campaigns that occurred back in the 50s in Japan. But what did he qualify? He said, this is my determination, and if I don't accomplish this before I die, don't even have a funeral for me. Just throw my ashes in the Tokyo River, because everything I said was not what I meant it to be. Okay? So that was his conviction, that he was ready to give his life and never stop until he achieved that goal. And as soon as he did, he passed on. It wasn't very long after that that he did pass on. Okay? So it's important that we as individuals understand that the vow for Kosen-Rufu not be someone else's vow that we're supporting, but that it become our own vow.
Right.
We are the Buddha.
Yes.
Okay? We don't rely on Buddhas to lead us. We become Buddhas and lead others. Do you understand? So, this is really, really important. There should be no separation between the followers of Nichiren or Nichiren himself. This is all about the same mind as Nichiren, the same desire for the true teaching to be propagated throughout the world for the sake of all humankind, not just the members of a religious organization, a lay organization. I think there's one more. No, that's not. There isn't. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning on page 202. 202. Two wheels of a cart.
Yes.
Highlights. Aligning our hearts with our mentor while uniting in our efforts for Kosen Rufu is the key to victory for our movement. Our movement is the movement for Kosen Rufu, not for the world domination of the Soka Gakkai. Understand that. It is vital that we take a firm stand against any person or negative influence that seeks to destroy the oneness of mentor and disciple and the unity of many in body, one in mind. The Soka Gakkai has emphasized the importance of songs and their ability to unite people's hearts because the heart-to-heart bond shared between mentor and disciple and among fellow members together make up the unchanging formula for absolute victory, victory toward Kosen Rufu, and in our lives as practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism. These two kinds of unity, known respectively as the oneness of mentor and disciple and the unity of many in body, one in mind, are essential to the deepening of each individual's faith and to the progress of Kosen Rufu. Indeed, it is not too much to say that the ongoing development of the Soka Gakkai will depend on whether these vital elements are preserved and passed on to future generations. Okay, so President Ikeda's like 90 now, right? Okay, I'm not getting any younger. Okay, so these concepts have to be passed on generationally. Okay, from mentor to disciple. Who disciple was becomes a mentor. The disciple becomes a mentor. The disciple becomes a mentor. So understand that President Ikeda is emphasizing to you there that you need to make sure you understand this. And that you need to make sure that this is part of what you teach others in teaching them the practice of this Buddhism in the latter day. All right? In every major campaign I waged for Kosen Rufu, be it in Ota and Bukyo wards in Tokyo, in Japan's northern island of Hokkaido, in Osaka, or in Yamaguchi Prefecture, I did all I could to share Mr. Toda's guidance and vision with the members and urged them to join me in achieving victory as his disciples. I realized that the future of our movement hinged on us uniting solidly for the sake of Kosen Rufu and living as our mentor taught us. That was why I built a rhythm of victory through the unity of many in body, one in mind, centering on the oneness of mentor and disciple. In other words, he took the conviction he felt toward his mentor and was able to express it to others in a manner that they could understand and emulate. Suppose there is a 10 million horsepower motor. By engaging the gears of a machine with the engine, that 10 million horsepower will be transmitted to the entire machine. In much the same way, aligning our hearts with our mentor while uniting in our efforts for Kosen Rufu is the key to victory for our movement. Okay? Do you understand when he just now said that? He's not talking about himself. He's talking about the original teacher. But all the true disciples of the original teacher are mentors because they're all Buddhas. There's no such thing as a Buddha that's not a mentor. Do you understand? All right? So don't get hung up on words or structure here. In that respect, it is vital that we take a firm stand against any person or negative influence that seeks to destroy the oneness of mentor and disciple or the unity of many in body, one in mind. Mr. Toda often said that the Soka Gakkai was more precious to him than his own life, and he sternly exhorted us to show the door to anyone who dared disrupt the pure organization of the Soka Gakkai. The oneness of mentor and disciple, which is why I came down so hard on Mark last week. The oneness of mentor and disciple and the spirit of many in body, one in mind, are essentially inseparable principles. They are like the two wheels of a cart. If we do not share our mentor's heart or spirit to realize Kosen Rufu, there will be no genuine unity of purpose among our diverse membership. Nor can we be called disciples who truly embody our mentor's spirit if we fail to cherish our harmonious community of practitioners and to make continuous efforts to forge and maintain unity. Nichiren teaches his followers that if they persevere in faith with the same spirit as his, and unite in heart and mind, the goal of Kosen Rufu will definitely be achieved. The key to victory In all spheres of our movement lies in building and maintaining an organization whose members are united in spirit, not because they were ordered to behave a certain way. They naturally do that because of the awakening of their Buddha nature. All you have to do is to lead them correctly. They're already Buddhas themselves. You don't have to teach them. To reaffirm this important point, I will discuss here the Daishonin's writing, Many in Body, One in Mind. Together, let us study these principles for successful leadership in Buddhism, using them as a guide in fulfilling our own unique missions and scaling new summits of victory. All of us are unique. We all have different missions. Unity is the key to overcoming great obstacles. The gray box on page 204. Written, highlights, written most likely between late Brunei era, 1264 to 1275, and the Kinji era, 1275 to 1278. The recipient is unknown. For disciples to take on challenges and strive to win with the same spirit as their teacher is the essence of the spirit of many in body, one in mind. Many in body refers to people's diverse personalities and characteristics and the roles they fulfill. One in mind means sharing the same purpose or values and cherishing a shared wish or aspiration to realize a lofty goal or ideal. That one in mind is the same mind as Nichiren. It's Kosarufu. All right? Only when we rise above our attachment to self and reveal our highest potential and individuality can we achieve harmonious unity. Because if we try and lead for the sake of us being the leader rather than the fact that we're emulating the mentor as the teacher, we're going to end up going astray. Do you understand? And again, this is all originating on the Daishonin. It is not known precisely when this letter was written or to whom it was addressed. Nichiko Hori, this is who I just talked about last week too. Nichiko Hori is the 59th high priest that actually sat down with President Toda, and they're the ones that did the Gosho Zenshu. Okay, but it was Nichiko Hori's. Nichiko Hori had been studying. I mean, he was just somebody that studied and studied and studied and studied, and he actually retired as high priest in order to continue to study and to teach, to make sure that there was a foundation within the priesthood of people understanding. And then whoever took his place died, I believe, and he ended up becoming high priest again. But he actually liked teaching more than he liked the ceremony of being high priest. Okay? And we owe him everything. That's why no one can give me any crap about the Gosho Zenshu. The SGI didn't create the Gosho Zenshu. The Gosho Zenshu is actually just nothing more than a recording of Nichiko Hori's Gosho that he had studied for his entire life. Okay. Nichiko Hori, the 59th high priest who compiled and edited the text of the collected writings of Nichiren Daishonin, the Gosho Zenshu, and he collected and compiled and edited. Now, why does he say edited the text of the collected writings of Nichiren Daishonin? Because he felt he could discern what had been added in instances where something had been added by previous priests. All right? That's all in the Human Revolution, if you want to read those pages I talked about last week. Speculated that it was okay. Nichiko Hori, the 59th high priest who compiled and edited the text of the collected writings of Nichiren Daishonin, speculated, it was his concept, that it was actually composed of two separate letters that may have been mistakenly combined when they were transcribed in later centuries. He reached this conclusion because of the lack of substantial connection between the first half of the letter concerning the importance of unity and the second half concerning the likelihood of a Mongol invasion. In this lecture, let's examine the first half of the writing, focusing mainly on Nichiren's teaching about unity of purpose. The Daishonin mentions Hokibo, a reference to his disciple Nikko in Ikekeo Shonin, who was actively leading propagation efforts in Suruga province, present-day central Shizuoka prefecture, and the believers in Atsuhara. From this, it is believed that the letter may have been sent to one of the Daishonin's key followers in the province, such as the lay priest Takahashi Rokuro Hyoe, and been composed sometime between the late Brunei era, 1264 to 1275, when trouble first began in Atsuhara, and the Kinji era, 1275 to 1278. In light of this view of Nichiko Hori's, okay, so that's what he's saying. He's even acknowledging, in light of this view, the government harassment of Nichiren's followers that would later escalate into the Asahara persecution was already underway. Accordingly, we can conclude that this letter was written to confirm that unity, or the spirit of many in body, one in mind, was the key to overcoming this great difficulty. In other words, because of the major persecutions about to descend upon his followers in Suruga at any moment, Nichiren succinctly explains that unity based on faith is the only way for them to prevail over such devilish functions. Indeed, it is the only weapon for thwarting the schemes of the devil king of the sixth heaven, the most malevolent of devilish functions. To quickly reconfirm the meaning of the concept of many in body, one in mind, many in body, which can also be expressed as different in body, refers to people's diverse personalities and characteristics and the roles they have to fulfill. One in mind, which can also be expressed as same in heart or spirit, generally means sharing the same purpose or values. It also means cherishing a shared wish or aspiration to realize a lofty goal or ideal. In terms of Buddhism, the core of being a one in mind is faith based on the oneness of mentor and disciple. That is, each person taking Kosen Rufu, the Buddha's will and intent, as a personal mission and actively working for its realization. For disciples to take on challenges and strive to win with the same spirit as their teacher is the essence of the spirit of many in body, one in mind. So what did he just say there? He says, in terms of Buddhism, because this concept precedes Buddhism, frankly, it's part of Confucianism. In terms of Buddhism, the core of being one in mind is faith based on the oneness of mentor and disciple, you and the original teacher, you and the inseparability of you with the Gohonzon. Do understand that, all right? That is, each person taking Kosen Rufu, the Buddha's will and intent, as a personal mission, deciding you're a bodhisattva of the earth, and that's the way you're going to conduct yourself to the last moment of your life. In the absence of that, you're not doing this. Do you understand? Only bodhisattvas of the earth do this. This is taking the vow. And the vow meaning enough that you never give it up. You never go taiten. No matter how difficult the devilish functions are attacking, you kick their asses, period. And you do that through faith to the Gohonzon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? All right, so he's saying, the explicit acknowledgement here that though we unite in spirit, we are many or different in body is very important. I find it profoundly significant that Nichiren doesn't use the term one in body, one in mind, which is commonly used in Japanese to signify unity in conformity. Rather, he uses many in body, one in mind, signaling unity in diversity. Because Kosen Rufu is going to be the most diverse thing that ever happened, ever. Okay? Because you're talking about the whole world, which is already completely divided up. I mean, religions and geographic circumstances and history and culture and,
Race.
GDP and everything else, right? So he says, in other words, though we may share the same purpose or aspiration, we do not suppress or deny our own individuality. So if you see somebody stressing and pressing unity on the basis of everybody being the same, or a top-down order, we should all behave this way, President Ikeda just said, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's being exactly who you are, but being committed as a bodhisattva of the earth with the rest of the bodhisattvas of the earth that are all different than you as well, but you're all the same in that you all have the same great vow that you've taken and that you uphold in your life. Okay? He says, we do not suppress or deny our own individuality. When we fully express our unique potential, okay, when we fully express our potential that exists only within us as individuals. Each person has their own unique individual capability. Through the power of the mystic law, we can manifest the invincible strength of the unity of many in body, one in mind. Invincible strength means it cannot be defeated. The Buddha became enlightened to the fundamental power that connects all phenomena in the universe, namely the mystic law. He also awakened to the fact that all people have the potential to manifest the power of this law in their own lives. Buddhism calls this potential the Buddha nature or Dharma nature. Only when we each bring forth the wisdom of our enlightened Buddha nature can we truly actualize the unity of many in body, one in mind, as taught in Nichiren Buddhism. So what did he just say there? Only when we bring forth the wisdom of our enlightened Buddha nature can we truly actualize the unity of many in body, one in mind, as taught in Nichiren Buddhism. So again, this is not something that emanates from you being led to it or being told to be that way. This is something that you aspire toward out of a conviction toward a faith. Do you understand? I'll say it again. Only when we each bring forth the wisdom of our enlightened Buddha nature. Now, what's that mean? We have a daily connection to the Gohonzon. We are existing as Buddhas in our present form, even if we haven't really perceived that yet. Do you understand? We're doing everything. We're in stage 5 of the 6 stages of practice. Can we truly actualize the unity of many in body, one in mind, as taught in Nichiren Buddhism? So it can't be actualized theoretically. You can theoretically understand it, but you can't actualize it unless you're doing the things necessary for you to be the Buddha yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? You can't teach other people how to be the Buddha if you're not the Buddha. Mm-hmm. All right? Because we rise above our attachment to self, because as the Buddha we perceive ourselves connected to everyone else and not separate from anything, and reveal our highest potential and individuality, that of being the Buddha in our present form, the path of many in body, one in mind, becomes a path for absolute victory in the goal of achieving Kosen Rufu. Do you understand? We've got to overcome every other problem we have in our daily life in the process of doing that. Mm. Here we should also, but the firewood that's really burning that is the desire for Kosen Rufu. That's where you're achieving the power to be able to change everything in your life on a daily basis that needs to be changed. Here we should also remember that through manifesting the wisdom of our Buddha nature, manifesting it means bringing it forth. How do you do that? Only through chanting to the Gohonzon. This isn't about knowledge. This is about faith. We can break free from the fundamental darkness or ignorance that would keep us trapped in the paths of evil and suffering, because that's the only way you can overcome fundamental darkness, is faith. The spirit of many in body, one in mind, is not a unity achieved through external constraints or demands for conformity. Okay? Quite often we see unity try to be created that way. It doesn't work. It doesn't last. People will reject it. Rather, it is an expression of the wisdom of our Buddha nature arising from a fundamental liberation occurring in the depths of each person's life. It is a unity based on aligning our own hearts with the heart of the Buddha. Everybody's with me?
Yeah.
Many in body or different in body are expressions supported by the guiding principles of Buddhism that all people have boundless potential and can lead the most wonderful lives. All people have a Buddha nature. All people have can attain Buddhahood in their present form. Because of the Buddhism of the sowing in the latter day. Emphasizing that the spirit, because of the Gohonzon of the 3 great secret laws. Emphasizing that the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is the key to victory, Nichiren says. The more than 3,000 volumes of Confucian and Taoist literature are filled with examples of this, he says, we just read. He asserts that in China, a land with a rich culture and philosophical heritage, it was a well-established principle that the unity of many in body, one in mind, is crucial to get to any great achievement. As a classic example of this, he cites a famous battle in Chinese history. He says, the gray box on first column, page 207, become unifying leaders. Highlights. King of Yin was defeated because his despotic rule had fueled resentment and turned the hearts of his soldiers against him. In contrast, the forces of King Wu of Chao were firmly united in their righteous cause of toppling a tyrannical ruler. Unity begins with leaders rising into action with a standalone spirit to empower the people. If leaders are earnest and dedicated, they will find resonance with many others, and this will enable many diverse individuals to unite with a common sense of purpose. This battle is known as the Yin Chao War and is documented in records of the historian by Sima, how would I pronounce that? Qian.
Qian.
Okay. Okay, by Sima
是
Qian
historian.
and other writings.
司马迁，对啊，
司马迁史记的。
Okay, great. You guys all know who it is, all right? We can surmise that Nichiren Daishonin chose this example because it offers an eloquent and thought-provoking illustration of the importance of the principle of many in body, one in mind. The battle took place more than 3 millennia ago, more than 3,000 years ago, in the 11th century before BCE, okay? King Chao, the last ruler of the Yin Dynasty, also known as the Shang Dynasty, possessed a great army of 700,000 men. Rising up against the misruling of the Yin Dynasty's king, King Wu of Chao, a vassal state of Yin, had a force consisting of only 800 feudal lords and their respective warriors. Though it is not possible today to know the exact figures, one source puts the size of this force at around 45,000 men. So it's 45,000 guys against 700,000 guys. One might conclude that the forces of Yin, given their sheer superiority in numbers, held an overwhelming advantage, but the Yin soldiers had no will to fight. They are said to have turned their weapons upside down and parted their ranks to let the Chao forces make their way through. The king of Yin was defeated, and his despotic rule had fueled resentment and turned the hearts of his soldiers against him. Thus the Daishonin writes, King Chao of Yin led 700,000 soldiers into battle, yet his army lost because of disunity. In contrast, the forces of King Wu of Chao were firmly united in their righteous cause of toppling a tyrannical ruler. They demonstrated the spirit of many in body, one in mind. Though by all outward appearances the Yin forces were there to defend King Chao, they shared neither his heart nor his spirit, and they were at cross purposes. In other words, one in body but different in mind. From an organizational perspective, vital to maintaining the condition of many in body, one in mind is the attitude of leaders. This may seem somewhat contradictory, but unity begins with a central figure taking a solitary stand. If leaders are earnest and dedicated, they will find resonance with others. And this will enable many diverse individuals to unite with a common sense of purpose. On the other hand, if leaders are cowardly or authoritarian, they cannot foster authentic unity. They can create something that looks like it's united but will fall apart in time. It can never last. A clear example of this is seen in the difference between King Chao of Yin and King Wu of Chao, as I have just outlined. The records of the historian, King Chao, in the records of the historian, King Chao is described as being skilled in oratory, shrewd and quick-witted, and having prodigious strength. Sounds like a badass, right? And precisely because he possessed such exceptional abilities, he was always justifying his abuses and in the habit of denigrating his ministers as useless and boasting of his own prowess. There's some world leaders like that today. History teaches us that there is no true or lasting unity under arrogant leaders. Among the rulers of states who paid fealty to King Chao of Yin, 3 were particularly capable and influential. The king, however, had 2 of them executed, and the 3rd placed under house arrest and then banished. This last ruler was the Earl of the West, later known as King Wen, the father of King Wu. King Chao ruthlessly purged any ministers or retainers who dared speak out against his oppressive rule. Wow, does that sound familiar? Okay. As a result, only sycophants, does everybody know what that is? Those are ass kissers. Okay, sycophants are people that all they want to do is constantly say the things that their leader wants to hear. Okay, they never say the actual truth or what they really feel. They always play the political side. They are big-time ass kissers. They're like over-the-top ass kissers. All right? Only sycophants skilled in the arts of flattery and subterfuge remained around him. Does everybody understand? Okay. We don't want organizations like that, where everybody just says yes, yes, yes to everything, no matter what's said. Okay? And they say it because they're not respected when they do speak out. That's the problem. That's why he's saying it starts with a correct leader. Even though it's a unity of equality, you've got to have somebody that's got their shit together enough to understand that premise before they can actually pull it off. In the meantime, President Toda understood that. President Ikeda understands that. That's why President Ikeda is saying this. I'm not saying this. I'm reading President Ikeda saying this. In the meantime, the state of Chao, a dominion of Yin, was administered fairly under the central leadership of the Earl of the West, who had eventually been pardoned from banishment. Whenever there was some quarrel or dispute among the rulers of neighboring states, they would ask him to mediate. Once, this is beautiful, an intractable dispute broke out between two particular states, so the rulers of both kingdoms traveled all the way to Chao to seek the Earl's mediation. The episode is related in records of the historian as follows. Setting foot inside the state of Chao, they saw that farmers lived so peacefully as to concede the boundaries of paddy fields in favor of their neighbors instead of fighting over them. They just said, go ahead. Not only that, but everyone overflowed with the spirit of freely and voluntarily deferring to the elderly. Okay? Seeing this, the two rulers felt utterly ashamed. Our conflict would only be a source of merriment in this kingdom. We'd just end up embarrassing ourselves to mention it, they thought. The two immediately turned back, making mutual concessions. They each returned to their own lands, fully reconciled. So this is about being mindful of others and respectful of others as fellow Buddhas, to the point that you allow everybody to speak and you take everybody's position into consideration. In another writing, Nichiren observes the Shang Dynasty lasted for 700 years because of the propriety and filial devotion of its founder, King Wen. The fundamental merit that led to the long prosperity of the state of Chao resided in the well-known respect and veneration the king always accorded to his outstanding teacher and general, Tai Kung Wang Tai Kung, as well as other esteemed elders. Okay? After King Wen's death, his son took over as King Wu, ruler of the state of Chao. King Wu appointed Tai Kung Wang, that same general, as a military strategist and appointed his own younger brother, Tan, the Duke of Chao, as his second in command. Mr. Toda often spoke about Tai Kung Wang and how the Chinese general led King Wu's forces toppling King Chao. In other writings, Nichiren notes how King Wu went into the battle with a carriage bearing a wooden image of his deceased father, King Wen. He describes King Wu as a person of great filial devotion and a ruler who governed the people wisely and benevolently with the support and assistance of such able ministers as Tai Kung Wang. In terms of our efforts, everything begins with leaders rising into action with a standalone spirit to empower the people. To empower the people. Sharing that ideal, our members join together for its realization, and with unshakable unity of purpose, they rise up to confront and defeat evil. This could be called the formula for the victory of the people in the realm of Kosen Rufu. Gray box at the top of page, second column, page 210. The importance of building a united organization highlights there are several vital requirements for genuine leaders striving to create a united organization. Listening to the sincere opinions of many others. 2, freely discussing things with other core leaders in order to expand and strengthen solidarity. And 3, giving thought to what needs to be done and what needs to be discussed so that everyone is satisfied and inspired to continue striving for Kosen Rufu with joy and conviction, and accurately transmitting information to central figures. A leader taking action based on a standalone spirit is fundamentally different from a leader behaving as a dictator. At times, based on their towering sense of responsibility, courageous leaders may need to take a stand in making bold decisions for their organization. Unlike dictators, however, genuine leaders will listen to the sincere opinions of many others. It is especially important in this day and age for key leaders at all levels of the organization to freely discuss things with other core leaders. When our leaders engage in frank and open dialogue with other leaders who share the same sense of responsibility, and when they work to expand and strengthen solidarity through the power of dialogue, the Soka Gakkai will achieve even greater growth. Accordingly, leaders should constantly give thought to what they need to do and what they need to discuss, so that everyone is satisfied and inspired to stand up with joy and conviction and can continue making wonderful strides toward Kosen Rufu. This is the responsibility of leaders of a united organization, an organization where the spirit of many in body but one in mind prevails. Another vital requirement for maintaining a united organization is the accurate transmission of information to the central figures. Mr. Toda often declared that those who fail to report on matters of crucial importance to the organization are like enemies. Those who lack unity of purpose and refuse to support the central figures are, bluntly speaking, people who destroy their own castle from within. Now that's copying attitudes of people against people that are doing the right thing. He just said a minute ago, if you find people that are doing the wrong thing, you're supposed to stand up. Do understand, this is not talking about suddenly becoming submissive to whoever is the leader and supporting whatever they do mindlessly. That is not what he's talking about at all here. Don't confuse the point. Those who lack the unity of purpose and refuse to support... Okay, pardon me. Yeah. Let us forever, right? Did I skip anything? It is. Okay. Let us forever gray... No, I didn't. Okay. I'm going to start again. Another vital requirement for maintaining a united organization is the accurate transmission of information to the central figures. Mr. Toda often declared that those who fail to report on matters of crucial importance to the organization are like enemies. Those who lack unity of purpose and refuse to support the central figures are, bluntly speaking, people who destroy their own castle from within. Through their actions they end up aiding and abetting the real enemies. Let us forever engrave in our lives the motto, win through perfect unity. With this resolve, let's continue to build a united organization through our faith and our concerted efforts to create a rhythm of unceasing victory. Top of page 211, second column, gray box. True unity begins with a fundamental change in one's own resolve. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So your ability to function in true unity with everybody else actually starts with you getting your head straight, yourself, about why you want unity in the first place. What is the function of unity? What are you being united about? Do you understand? He's saying highlights. A person conflicted about which course to pursue can accomplish nothing meaningful. Second bullet. Everything begins with changing our own mindset. Next bullet. A mind prone to making distinctions of self and other leads one to isolation, to self-attachment, and to regarding the self as faultless, giving rise to evil and misery. Those who transcend attachment to the self and bring forth the power of the mystic law free themselves from this negative tendency that confines people to evil and suffering. And the way you do that is how? Chanting Daimoku, the Gohonzon, with that being the conviction and your desire in the Daimoku that you're chanting. Your mind will be freed. You will have correct thinking. Promise. Those who transcend attachment and self and bring forth the power of the mystic law free themselves from this negative tendency that confines people to evil and suffering. And next, as we strive to accomplish human revolution while working to forge the unity of many in body, one in mind, we can conquer our attachments to self and establish faith based on the mystic law. At the bottom of page 211. Nichiren Daishonin emphasizes the importance of being of one mind, that is, sharing the same purpose or spirit for Kosen Rufu. First, he notes, even an individual at cross purposes with himself is certain to end in failure. Certainly nothing meaningful can be accomplished by a person conflicted or of two minds about which course to pursue. that only stands to reason. If we cannot make up our minds, we cannot have firm resolve. We will be swayed by our environment and lose our direction. Such is the folly of human beings. Especially if we suffer such confusion in relation to the all-important question of attaining Buddhahood, we will not only fail to gain the Buddha way, but travel a path leading to unhappiness and suffering. The heart is what matters most. Having a firm and concrete resolve is what secures the path to victory. So, what did he just say there, though? What's the actual, what is that really talking about? The vow. It's talking about the vow, especially if we suffer such confusion to the all-important question of attaining Buddhahood. So we've taken the vow as a bodhisattva of the earth, okay, to express our original state, which is Buddhahood. It's not to just be a bodhisattva to the last moment of our life. It's to achieve Buddhahood in our present form, right? That's what we say we're going to do. And then we contribute to the process of being able to allow everyone else to also secure that fortune. Everything begins with changing our own attitude or mindset. This applies equally to creating the unity of many in body, one in mind. If members of an organization are constantly at loggerheads, in conflict with one another, always blaming and criticizing one another, then they will always remain disunited in the condition of many in body, different in mind. Since organizations are made up of people, we are bound to encounter all kinds of people. At times, our personalities may not mesh with those of other individuals. Okay? Not all of our minds around this table even mesh all the time, right? That is why unless we each ground ourselves with our own human revolution, we cannot create genuine unity, which is the basis of the unity of those of us around this table. Right? You don't come here to hear me speak. You come here to learn about Buddhism. In the heritage of the ultimate law of life, the Daishonin urges his followers to unite in the spirit of many in body, but one in mind, transcending all differences among themselves. And there's a little footnote there that says point 10, and I have it circled for a reason. I want to read it. Transcending all differences among themselves could also be rendered literally as without any thought of self or other, this or that. This is not a denial of individuality, but rather urges the bridging of divisions among people that arise from self-centeredness. All right? So again, in the heritage of the ultimate law of life, the Daishonin urges his followers to unite in the spirit of many in body, but one in mind, transcending all differences among themselves, to become as inseparable as fish in the water in which they swim. It is only natural that people have different personalities and temperaments, but we must never use someone's being different as an excuse to discriminate against, exclude, or reject such a person. Okay? That's happened to me. The important thing is that we accept one another's diverse qualities with a spirit of transcending all differences among ourselves. A mind prone to making distinctions of self and other leads one to self-isolation, to self-attachment, and to regarding the self as faultless, which gives rise to evil and misery. That's called delusion, because you're seeing things as being separate, where the Buddha sees everything as being the same. Do you understand? A mind prone to making distinctions is a mind of delusion. Okay, a mind prone to making distinctions of self and others and other leads one to self-isolation, delusion, and to self-attachment, delusion, and to regarding the self as faultless, delusion, which gives rise to evil and misery, because that's what where delusion takes you. Depending on the person and the situation, such negative traits as contempt, hatred, jealousy, resentment, indignation, arrogance, malice, sullenness, gloom, stubbornness, impatience, disloyalty, and ingratitude may arise. People who transcend attachment to the self and bring forth the power of the mystic law free themselves from a negative life tendency that confines one to evil and suffering. Do you understand? All right. The Daishonin also urges us to become as inseparable as fish in the water in which they swim. This means developing a sense of affinity or fellowship with everyone who joins us in studying and practicing Nichiren Buddhism and working for Kosen Rufu, and indeed with all people with whom we have a connection. So what did he just say there? He says, the Daishonin also urges us to become as inseparable as fish and the water in which they swim. And then he qualifies that as meaning developing a sense of affinity or fellowship. What does that mean? It means we care about other people, just like we care about ourselves. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he doesn't disqualify it as only members in the organization, does he? Mm-hmm. He says, this means developing a sense of affinity or fellowship with everyone who joins us, Steve, my brother, in studying and practicing Nichiren Buddhism and working for Kosen Rufu. That's regardless. Do you understand? Mm. And indeed with all people with whom we have a connection. With all people we have a connection. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm. Even non-believers. Because we respect them as being Buddhists in theory. They have not awakened themselves yet. Those who have conquered the tendency to focus on differences come to manifest in their lives the workings of the mystic law. They come to become Buddhists, which connects and harmonizes all things, as you're in rhythm with all things. At times they will play a leading role and freely take initiative for Kosen Rufu, while at other times they will work behind the scenes to support other central figures. Moreover, whatever capacity they fulfill, their lives will pulse vibrantly due to the mystic law, the fundamental power of the universe. As we strive to accomplish human revolution while working to forge the unity of many in body, one in mind, we can conquer our attachment to self and establish faith based on the selfless spirit of valuing the law more highly than our own lives. Making the law the basis of our practice is the true essence of the spirit of many in body, one in mind. Everybody understands that, right? Mm-hmm. Nichiren, because you can't fake this. That's where that comes from. It comes from your Buddha nature. Nichiren further says, yet 100 or even 1,000 people can definitely attain their goal if they are of one mind. Being of one mind is the same as being inseparable as fish in the water in which they swim. To achieve victory ourselves and for others while advancing harmoniously together, united in faith, this is the essence of the Soka Gakkai spirit. Mr. Toda often remarked, if we ask what kind of unity has enabled the Soka Gakkai to realize the development it has today, the answer is the unity of faith and nothing else. The unity of faith and nothing else. This is all about unity of faith. It is the unity of many diverse individuals who share the same purpose or commitment, that vow I was talking about. The human heart is very fickle, easily swayed by changing circumstances. It is an extraordinary thing for people's hearts to be united in a shared goal, the vow. It's not something that can be simply achieved by ordering people to unite. Without the spirit of many in body, one in mind, we cannot accomplish Kosen Rufu. Those who turn their backs on this spirit are turning their backs on the teachings of Nichiren Daishonin. Let's engrave in our hearts Nichiren's teaching about being one of mind. We mustn't forget that realizing any victory depends on tenacious, united efforts. The gray box on the second column, page 214. I'm almost done. The condition of many in body, one in mind, is proof of the victory of Kosen Rufu. Highlights. Bullet 1. The success or failure of Kosen Rufu is not dependent on the number of people involved in that undertaking, but whether those who strive to accomplish it are united in spirit. 2. Those who attacked Nichiren and his followers were one in body in terms of being against the Lotus Sutra, but they were different in mind, holding various agendas and not earnestly aspiring for any particular ideal. Thus, they could not achieve anything worthwhile. The last one, the Atsuhara followers had resolute faith that no authority could restrain. Centuries later, they remained a lasting reference point for Nichiren Buddhists and continued to inspire us in our efforts for worldwide Kosen Rufu. With regard to the circumstances facing him and his followers, Nichiren Daishonin clearly states that the spirit of many in body, one in mind, is crucial if good is to triumph. At the time, people throughout Japan viewed Nichiren and his followers with animosity and abused and harassed them. But here he emphasizes that What determines the success or failure of Kosen Rufu is not the number of people involved in that undertaking. He assures his followers that even if their ranks are small, as long as they are united in spirit, they can definitely achieve Kosen Rufu. The Daishonin observes, though numerous, the Japanese will find it difficult to accomplish anything because they are divided in spirit. The Japanese here means the people of Japan during the Daishonin's time who were hostile to the efforts he and his followers were making to propagate the Lotus Sutra. These propagation efforts were directed toward actualizing the ideals of the Lotus Sutra, namely happiness for oneself and others, the universal attainment of enlightenment, Jigyo Keita, and establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, establishing a nation or society in which the humane ideals of Buddhism predominate and peace prevails. The people of the day, however, failed to appreciate these ideals. As a result, they vehemently opposed them and attacked Nichiren and his followers. Yet they had no ideals of their own that were capable of changing the reality of the times and improving the world. The religions to which many Japanese of the time subscribed were such established Buddhist schools as the Pure Land Nembutsu school, which taught that one should despise and reject the real world as impure, the Zen school, which emphasized pursuing enlightenment through austere practices as a monk, and the true word Shingon or Tendai schools, which were devoted almost exclusively to conducting prayer rituals for the defeat of the enemies of the rulers. Ultimately, all these schools merely exacerbated the existing conflicts of the age, which could be described as the karma created by the warrior government. Having no sound religion or philosophy as their foundation, the leaders of society had little hope of realizing a happy and prosperous society. As Nichiren states, though numerous, the Japanese will find it difficult to accomplish anything because they are divided in spirit. The people of Japan who attacked the Daishonin and his followers could perhaps be described as one in body in terms of being against the Lotus Sutra, but because they held varying goals and agendas and aspired toward no particular ideals, they could also be described as being different in mind. As a result, they could achieve nothing worthwhile. In contrast, the Daishonin writes, although Nichiren and his followers are few because they are different in body but united in mind, they will definitely accomplish their great mission of widely propagating the Lotus Sutra, Kosen Rufu. It is a declaration that he and his followers, though few in number, could definitely prevail and realize Kosen Rufu because they were united in spirit. The followers in Atsuhara steadfastly embraced this teaching of Nichiren, showing actual proof of faith, and that's the important thing, actual proof of faith. They courageously refused to give in to authoritarian persecution and achieved a monumental spiritual victory. Their strong spirit, which no authority could restrain, has become a lasting reference point for Nichiren Buddhism of the people and continues to inspire us in our efforts for worldwide Kosen Rufu today. In the true aspect of all phenomena, Nichiren writes, at first only Nichiren chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, but then 2, 3, and 100 followed, chanting and teaching others. Propagation will unfold this way in the future as well. Does this not signify bodhisattvas emerging from the earth? At the same time, when the law has spread far and wide, the entire Japanese nation will chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, as surely as an arrow aimed at the earth cannot miss the target. He declares that the goal of Kosen Rufu is certain to be achieved if a steady stream of bodhisattvas of the earth, all of you, continues to emerge to follow Nichiren, the teacher who first chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and with the spirit of oneness with their mentor and the solidarity of many in body but one in mind, to chant and teach others as well. The many examples of powerful unity evident in our Soka Gakkai activities give eloquent testimony to the success of our Kosen Rufu movement and are the essence of its growth and development. In other words, unity of purpose in the realm of faith is not only the key to victory, but also the proof of that victory. Furthermore, those who are dynamically striving together in such unity have already freed themselves from the mindset that discriminates between self and other, which would have kept them encumbered by suffering and evil. There is no greater victory than this, because that was to attain Buddhahood in your present form. All those who vibrantly unite in the spirit of many in body, one in mind, based on the mystic law, blossom as victorious human flowers. Victory in the realm of Buddhism equals victory in all areas of life. we're wrapping it up. Gray box on 217. The single great truth of the mystic law highlights in a world racked by schism and human misery, a Buddha makes every effort to bring people together and actualize the ideal of a peaceful society while aiming for the overarching goal of peace for all humankind. When the influence of ultimate good increases, the goodness of evil, when the influence of ultimate good increases, the darkness of evil, no matter how deep, will instantly vanish. Humanity as a whole is searching for the unity of spirit exemplified by that of many in body, one in mind. Last page, page 218. In this writing, Nichiren Daishonin and his followers who manifest the power of the mystic law battle slander and persecution and advance the cause of Kosen Rufu as described as representing a single great truth or good. This is because the mystic law represents a single truth or ultimate good that links all life and phenomena and can vanquish evil. The fact that there's no separation between anything. Everything is connected. That is to say, division is evil, unity is good. Get it? Right. The state of Buddhahood allows us to live amid the reality of society with the enlightened wisdom to perceive the true nature of the universe in which all phenomena are interconnected. Buddha is one whose life is dedicated to value creation. A world racked by schism and human misery, in a world racked by schism and human misery, a Buddha makes every effort to bring people together and actualize the ideal of a peaceful society while aiming for the overarching goal of peace for all humankind. Therefore, Nichiren says, though evils may be numerous, they cannot prevail over a single great truth or good. When the sun of ultimate good rises, the darkness of evil, no matter how deep, will vanish instantly. Nichiren and his followers embody this single great truth or good. This is demonstrated by their resolve and efforts to propagate the mystic law, the most fundamental good, unafraid of confronting devilish functions or obstacles. As modern-day practitioners of the Daishonin's philosophy, we must also dedicate our lives to Kosen Rufu, the realization of the ideals envisaged in the Lotus Sutra. No one has worked harder or devoted themselves more selflessly than the members of the Soka Gakkai through sheer effort and perseverance amid abuse and criticism in the cause of unleashing the power of the people and building an age of the people. That is why our movement is applauded throughout the world. We are now at a stage where people around the globe are taking positive note of our philosophy and practice as a result of the unparalleled unity we have forged. Today, intercultural and interfaith dialogue are becoming increasingly indispensable for the future development of humankind. I'll read that again. Today, intercultural and interfaith dialogue, respecting others for who they are becoming increasingly indispensable for the future development of humankind. It could be said that humanity as a whole is searching for the kind of unity of spirit exemplified by that of many in body, one in mind. Many leaders today recognize the growing importance of dialogue in transcending cultural differences and nurturing people's essential goodness. I feel that we are at the forefront of this endeavor. The world is counting on our united efforts to forge an alliance of people dedicated to good. Let us advance with pride and confidence and write a history of brilliant achievement. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next week.